Hey everyone, Davey here, back again with another review of The Walking Dead, and this time it is for the penultimate episode of Season 4 entitled Us. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make this review kind of short because it's late, everybody in my house is asleep, and also because I have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to make this quick and not go into a full in-depth analysis of the synopsis. I'm just gonna go ahead and go by it as quickly as possible and just hit the main points of what this episode hit. And of course, like every review of every episode of The Walking Dead up until this point, this video will contain spoilers, so you have been warned. So this episode did what almost every episode in the past 5 or 6 or so have been doing so far. It has just gotten our characters to get closer and closer to not only each other, but to this place, Terminus, which we have finally arrived by the end of this episode through 2 of the particular groups. There's still some that have not been detailed, but we'll probably get to that point in the next episode. But beyond that, it actually did a good job at really getting us to like some of these characters, especially some of the characters that we haven't gotten a chance to know really in the past few episodes. The entire episode focuses on just 2 groups, Daryl and those group of guys, and Glenn, Abraham Ford, I believe Eugene, the scientist, Rosita, and Tara. I finally remember her name. Tara. And the majority of the episode focuses mostly on Glenn trying to get to Maggie, especially after finding certain signs that actually have Maggie's little signature saying, hey, go to Terminus, signed Maggie, Bob, and Sasha. And that just pushes him more towards trying to find her, which I guess could be one of my slight little nitpicks, and that is that I wish that Steven Yeun, who plays Glenn, would emote just a little more, because when they finally reunite in this episode, Maggie, Lauren Cohan, who plays Maggie, really emotes the way that I would imagine her to do so, but when it comes to Glenn, and I look at Glenn during that shot when they're finally reunited, I'm kind of like, dude, could you like show more that, you know, you've been wanting this girl this whole time and you've been risking life and limb and other people's lives and limbs to get to this girl, but instead you're just like, hi. You know, I just kind of wish that there was a little bit more there in terms of his performance. Although I will say it was a genuine awe moment to see him run and smile at the same time during that opening. But that storyline kind of concludes with them finally reuniting. Now, I will say that one of my complaints about the episode would be that their reunion with not only Maggie, but also with Bob and Sasha, also connecting with Abraham and Rosita and Eugene, was just a little convenient. I mean, I'm glad that it happened. I mean, it's neat to finally see some of these characters come together, especially since that mid-season finale. So, it's a sight for sore eyes. It genuinely is. But I will admit, it's just a little convenient, but I'm able to somewhat overlook it because, like I said, I'm happy that some of these characters have finally come with together, and we finally saw a shred of what is to come in the finale, which I'm hoping is going to be great, because right now this episode did a good job at building anticipation towards that final confrontation because of Daryl and that group, which, by the way, like I said, going back to what this episode did right was getting to like some of these characters, especially characters that we didn't get to see enough of in previous episodes. One would be Eugene, who is the new comedic relief for the show so far, and the dry, deadpan delivery by that actor and the way they write him. Sure, you could admit he's a little off-tone in terms of the show. Like, the show has this very serious demeanor as well as some of these characters, and the way that this character talks is really different as opposed to everybody else. I mean, he's talking about video games. He even mentions like RPGs and just, I love his dialogue, mainly because of how offbeat it is. But he's needed, alright? He's needed. When everything is just so deadpan and serious, he's deadpan but comedic, and he just remains the same person that he probably was back before this whole thing broke out. And I still like that they're somewhat keeping a mystery of what it is that he knows about this outbreak that makes him realize, oh, that's how it happened. I mean, for all we know, maybe he doesn't really know. I mean, maybe he's lying. So I'm hoping that gets kind of fleshed out in the finale. And not only him, but also Abraham Ford. He's also being a badass, and I don't know if he's going to become an antagonistic character. I don't know if the comic books had him be played out that way, but so far he is becoming another Daryl, right up there with Michonne and Daryl himself. He's just becoming one of those characters that is badass and enjoyable to see on screen. And Rosita also has her nice little exchange with Eugene in that car, and I really dug that. I really dug the sass coming out of her, and I really hope that to see more of her character be fleshed out. Chances are we're not going to see that in Season 5 as well, but hey, I'll take what I can get. And going back to Daryl and that group, I really like that leader. The guy who plays the leader, not only in terms of performance, but the way they write his character, I'm really liking him so far. He looks like a character that would not only be out of the comic books, and if he is, then I wouldn't be surprised, but also out of the Telltale game. He just looks like something that would come out of that video game, that mythology. Even though it does take place in the same universe as the comics, he just looks like he fits with this world. In fact, he himself even says that, I don't feel like the world is falling apart. I feel like things are falling together. So I really am digging his character, and I'm hoping to see him getting written well in the confrontation that is going to happen in the finale, because the detail that they gave him in this episode is one of the things that helped build anticipation, at least for me, towards that finale, which is that he is heading to Terminus, not because to find shelter and whatnot, but to kill whoever killed their partner in that house. And of course, we are talking about Rick. Now, I will say it's a little, just a tiny bit strange to go all this way just to kill one guy who killed one of your guys, when you just killed a guy for framing another, which I'm not going to say is too extreme because of the type of guys that they are, but it kind of really put things in perspective and makes them going all this way just to find Rick and kill him just because he killed one of them. I don't know, like, it's best to just move from point A to point B just to survive, rather than to waste all supplies and effort and time and energy into finding just one guy. I don't know, I personally don't feel it. But it doesn't necessarily feel out of character for those type of guys, because they do look like the type of guys that are genuine bad guys, because the best villain that you can write is a villain with a code, and flat out, they got their set of rules and all that, and I love villains like that. I love antagonists like that, and I'm hoping to see them being formidable villains for not only the group, including Rick and Michonne, but also Daryl, and how he's gonna be coping with it. Even though we didn't really get a good sense of him bonding with this group. I mean, sure, he started to go by the rules by saying claim, which is a little annoying because it reminds me of siblings saying, I got that. Anyways, this is me personally. But nonetheless, it does make things an awful lot interesting, and just makes me anticipate the finale even more. My only other tiny complaints would be that there's some things, literally just a couple of things, that I wish we could have seen a little bit more, but I was fine with what we got. One would be Rick, Carl, and Michonne. I mean, I think it was in my previous review I said that, hey, I think it's about time that we saw Rick, Carl, and Michonne at least one more time, and we did, so I'm not necessarily complaining about the time that we did get them. But I kind of wish that we've seen just a couple more scenes with them interacting. I mean, that beginning scene with Michonne and Carl playing the game and Rick not being uptight about it. He's like smiling. He's like, come on guys, we gotta get moving, but I do enjoy seeing you guys smile. It's a very heartwarming scene, especially in, because this is the world of The Walking Dead. Seeing heartwarming scenes like that is just, little diamonds in the rough. And I'm hoping to see one big diamond in the form of Rick finding out that Judith is still alive. That is hoping what's his name? Carol and Tyrese get to Terminus safe and sound along with Judith. Which, by the way, I'm really hoping Judith is in one of those bags, because I do not remember seeing her at all when Tyrese and Carol left the house in the last week's episode. So that was a little strange, unless they're just carrying her around in that duffel bag like supplies. It's pretty mean. But yeah, I was hoping to see Carol and Michonne and Carl just a tad bit more, at least one more scene. Not a whole lot, but just one more scene before the episode wrapped up. And there's a particular walker that we saw a silhouette of in that tunnel, which by the way was a genuinely suspenseful scene. And there's a shot where they show a walker that's missing huge chunks of its body, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen that walker, but all we got was just a silhouette, and I just wish we could have seen a little bit more, but due to budget constraints, we probably couldn't. Huge shame. So in the end, this is obviously not as strong as an episode as last week's, but I definitely think that there were several things here that I liked enough to at least give us an 8 out of 10. Even though I still think that last week's episode was, you know, immense on an emotional level, more so than this episode. And like I said, it does have its conveniences and things that I could have wished I'd seen more of, but I did think that this episode did a good job at not only getting our characters to integrate with one another, but not all of them, you know, saving some of their little tricks that are up their sleeves for the final episode. But not only that, but also get us to get to know some of these characters that we haven't gotten to know proper. So that about does it for my review. If you guys have seen this episode, let me know what you guys thought, and I'll see you guys next week when I review the finale for Season 4. Later.